Welcome, drone video fans. My name is Bill, and this video is going to focus on the ice that forms on the Great Lakes, specifically Lake Erie here, which we have in front of us. The beach we're taking off from was featured in one of my previous videos where I showed the zoom feature of the Autel Evo, and however now the beach is all covered with what I like to call sand ice, which gets thrown up there by waves and then freezes. The Great Lakes, of course there's 5 Great Lakes. Lake Erie is the smallest and shallowest of the 5 Great Lakes, and you'd think that it would be the quickest to form ice, but usually Lake Superior forms ice because it's just that much colder. Earlier this year, when we had that polar vortex and a bunch of real cold weather, we had a little bit over 80% coverage of the lake with ice on it, but in recent weeks we've had a lot of temperature going up and down, rain and everything, and so the ice is diminished considerably. But we're going to fly over here, and I'm going to explain a little bit about the ice that forms here on Lake Erie. We're in 1x zoom, flying at about 10 to 15 feet above the ice right now above Lake Erie, as we move on out here to look at some of the various areas. One of the first things you notice is that it looks like the ice is made up of a lot of jagged pieces, and looks like almost flakes and blocks and chunks and very irregular shapes, and this is caused by when the lake first starts freezing, it'll freeze, and then there'll be some wave action and it'll break it up, and then it gets washed towards the shoreline, and then it refreezes and then gets washed towards the shoreline, and it keeps on doing this, and it winds up building up a lot of these chunks of ice, and sometimes it'll build up mounds, what they call pressure ridges of ice that will be 3 to 5 feet high, and then there'll be a section of the lake that's relatively flat for maybe 500 feet, and then there'll be another pressure ridge, and then another 500 feet of flatness, and then another pressure ridge where just a continuous buildup of ice. You can see like one of the very small pressure ridge there right in front of us, and we're going to be shifting over into 2x zoom. I'm going to raise it up a little bit so that I can have a good visual on it from the shoreline, and then shift it over into 2x zoom, which is right here. We're going to continue flying now in the easterly direction. Shore is on the right, with the sand ice that's been thrown up there by the wave action. In the distance and on the right is the Mystery Mansion, which we featured in an earlier video last year, showing the Evo's zoom features. But again, now we're just flying over sections of ice here where you can see embedded in the surface various irregular shapes of ice. Now where you see it that it's very solidly white, that ice is probably safe enough and thick enough to walk on. However, when you get to any of these areas where you see that the ice has got a blue color to it, or even a whitish color to it, that is definitely not safe. And you can see cracking that has occurred here as the water underneath the ice shifts and moves, and these patches sometimes do break off and can get blown out. There's ice considerably further out on the lake, and depending on how the winds are blowing, that's where they're going. So I'm flying now towards an area that's mostly blue ice. It is actually ice covered, but it's covered by such a thin layer of ice that the color of the blue water underneath is showing through. Now this blue ice, and you can see there's definitely ice over the top of it, but it is definitely not safe to walk on. And there have been quite a few tragedies already this winter where people have walked out and are not experienced. I've been living along the shore of Lake Erie for over 40 years, so there were times back in my younger days when I would walk out on the lake ice, and I was knowledgeable enough and safe enough to know where to walk, when to walk, and this is a time where you see all this open ice areas. I definitely would not be wanting to walk out on the ice this way. We're looking now in the westerly direction, and in the distance you see the Perry nuclear power plants or power plant and the stacks that are there. We're heading back now towards the shore, and this band of sand ice or sand that's been washed up and frozen into sort of a break wall here, and that does give some protection to the beach to keep it from getting washed away totally during the winter time. But you can just see how or imagine how cold it is over here, because all this ice and the water's 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and so is the ice. And even though this day was supposed to be 40 or 45 degrees, it was still 30 degrees down here. I'm standing back over there trying to duck away in some trees. Here's an interesting structure that I've found while I was down here flying. This walkway was just recently built, put in here. It's got 3 levels with benches for people to sit down on, and makes it easy to come from the park area by the picnics and playground down to the beach. Anyways, this is a quick look at the ice over here along the shore of Lake Erie. Hope you enjoyed the little tour. We're going to keep trying to get flights in as long as the weather is good. Thanks for stopping by. Leave a comment if you feel like it, and do come back again soon. We try to get a video up as soon as the weather is good enough to fly.